Martial arts principles number 5, self-control. And what does self-control have to do with martial arts? What does it have to do with this application into business? Is something we're going to be talking about in today's Intention Monday. Hey, my name is Rishi Patel. I'm the founder of Selling in Alignment, where I work with coaches and consultants to reprice and package their services so they can discover and live their purpose. And today we're talking about the 5th principle in Choi Kwang Do, self-control. Now, Choi Kwang Do is the martial art that I study. It's an international martial art over many countries all across the world. And there are very powerful applications from the principles of martial art into our day-to-day lives. And so on today's Intention Monday, we're going to explore some of those and how we can apply them to business, how we can apply them to our life, and look to take away one of those key principles, one of those key aspects that we talk about, and really apply it into our week, really take it to town. So very warm welcome to you. If you're joining live, make sure you're commenting and letting me know what you're taking away from this. If you have any questions, feel free to ask live. If you're watching the replay, then hashtag replay, let me know what you're getting from this. So let's go straight into it. With self-control in martial arts, it can be a bit of a misconception. Why is that? Well, a martial art, surely it's about punching as hard as you can. It's about kicking, it's about fighting. It's about killing, maybe, from has a perception that maybe there's out there. And if you look at the common media with what the media portrays martial arts to be, if you look at martial arts movies, for example, it indicates that it could be geared towards violence. And actually, the core of martial arts is not at all. And that's why we have inside of there self-control. And it's a very important principle in the martial art, because what we have as martial artists is a great deal of power, a great deal of force that we can apply. And so, there's a saying, right? And you must have heard it. With great power comes great responsibility. And so self-control really reminds us of that responsibility that we have. Now, if you've watched my previous Intention Mondays, I have talked about this concept of the closed chumbi position, which is it's called the closed ready stance in martial arts. And so we have a closed chumbi position where we have a fist like this, but then we cover it with the hand like this, and it actually becomes a starting position for some of the patterns. And what this actually represents and what it means is the fist represents the power that we have as martial artists. And where we cover using the hand like this, we're demonstrating that we have the power, but it's under control. So it's in our control. We have that self-control and we apply ourselves in that way. Now, how does this apply when we come to something to do with a business setting? It's a very powerful concept, very powerful example. Where can we bring self-control in? Well, I certainly know sometimes when I get into a selling situation, I can become very overexcited. In essence, I'm excited most of the time, and I can become even more overexcited in a sales situation because I'm so stoked about a possibility that I see for someone. So inside of that, it's important to have the control and to be able to meet the person where they're at. Maybe that person isn't ready for that level of energy, or they're not going to be receptive to it. So we have to be able to gauge, we have to be intuitive in our approach. We can't just use a script and just run off the script, right? We have to be intuitive, we have to gauge the other person's reactions, their body language, their tonality, their facial expressions, everything needs to be gauged. And so then we apply self-control into a situation like that. And that's not just in a selling situation, that can be in any situation. You could be negotiating for a new house, for example, or you could be just talking to someone casually. And there may need to be this restraint that you apply to that. Maybe someone has said something that's really kind of triggered what, something that you don't want them to talk about, or something that really kind of, pushes your buttons is another common saying. So then in that situation as well, we need to be able to have self-control. So I'll give you a real life example for me, for something I need to have self-control around, which is looking at other people in the industry that kind of talk about this whole high ticket concept. And high ticket, there's nothing wrong with that in essence, but most people focus on high ticket, which only talks about the benefit to the person that's doing the sales. It doesn't talk about the benefit to the client. And then I have to, understand, like, okay, are those people that are selling high ticket really concerned about, the quality and the value that the customer gets, or are they just concerned about making a massive revenue? And I have to have self-control around beliefs that I impose onto others in that way. So it's a very powerful thing to have a look at in this way and just track for yourself, where do I need to bring self-control? Another powerful thing that we can really bring into self-control is again, I talked about a sales situation. So we may need to be able to balance and just have that composure under pressure. We may be in a situation where we have to, let's say, for example, we have to meet a certain criteria or hit a certain goal or, push ourselves to do something for the business. And even inside of that, there is this composure under pressure that we can have. So if we can bring a strategy about that can help us to become composed, like if before we go into a situation which we know is going to be potentially heated, then we can actually bring ourselves to a centered point, have a little bit of breathing that we do, just intentionally stop and just take a breath. Literally close your eyes, just go inward and take a breath in through the nose and breathe out through the nose. And just do that 3 times and it will bring a balance about, it will bring a certain composure about. And that is an incredibly powerful thing to do that maybe balances out a very high energy going into something. And I know that I certainly could do with a lot more of that intentional mindfulness inside of my business, inside of my life as well, in really bringing self-control. So maybe you're getting something from this as well. What is it you're going to do this week out of everything we've discussed so far to apply into your week? Let me know in the comments if you're watching live. Otherwise, #replay. Let me know what you're getting from this, what you're going to apply into your week. What do you need to get better at? Share with everyone and maybe we'll be able to all relate to what you're saying. Self-control is also really powerful inner strength for us all, right? It's really more about harnessing inner strength and then manifesting that externally rather than about suppression. So what self-control shouldn't be is this suppressed idea, is this idea of, I'm forcing myself not to do something. No, instead of that as a form of self-control, which eventually won't work because whatever you bottle up eventually just kind of explodes, right? So instead of that as self-control, what about harnessing that inner strength, that energy towards doing something we know is not going to serve and harnessing that energy towards something that's going to be greater for the greater good, something that's going to inspire, something that's going to uplift. So there's real power in that as well. Another thing that I want to talk about from the self-control perspective is something that I, again, can apply to my own life, which is self-control around what we ingest. Now, what do I mean about what we ingest? Do I just mean about food, about drink, about whatever? No, I don't. I mean in terms of all of our senses. And sometimes, for example, we may be watching something on YouTube continuously that's just like not serving a purpose and just kind of having us hooked into something or a repetitive pattern that's not serving us. So that's no good. And what's the point of that? What we can really look to do is harness that energy and really kind of get a good, strong awareness on self-control. We can really look to get a good, strong awareness around what are we ingesting visually, what are we ingesting physically, what are we ingesting mentally, and that can be, what do we ingest when we're around other people at the company that we keep? Like, what are we ingesting from that perspective? Different ways of looking at self-control. So we all need to really be able to understand this from a very powerful perspective. So here's the thing. I mean, which ones of these are you going to take and apply into day-to-day life? Which ones of these can you, and I hope that you can see through watching this, that self-control is, yes, it's a principle for the martial art. Like, we need to have that control in ourselves and we need to be able to channel that energy in the right way at the right time. And I hope you can also see that we can apply so much of this to not only life, but then also our business, the selling space, all of it. See, self-control is a really powerful principle that we can really powerfully bring about. And as I said earlier, it comes with responsibility. So with great power comes great responsibility. I've heard that on Spider-Man as well. And it's so true, isn't it? Because as a martial artist, for example, or even as someone that's an influencer in your space of your business, as an expert in your space, you need to exercise that restraint, that self-control in terms of, what you put out there, how you show up in the world, your personal brand, right? So is your personal brand having that right level of balance for you? That's really powerful as well. There's so many applications to it and for self-control. So I'd love to know what you're getting from this. Let me know in the comments, #replay. Until the next time, keep selling in alignment.